Hi, loves. So many of you know that before I became a dating coach, I was a journalist. And specifically, I was a TV news producer. What you may not know is that my career almost ended before it even started. So, one of the things that you would learn about me if you meet me in person, and probably even just listening to me on TikTok and Instagram and places like that, is that I have a soft voice. I don't speak very loudly. Never have, which is kind of funny because you would think that as someone who's extroverted, I'd also be loud and extra out. And I typically am not. But, anyways, it caused problems when I started as a producer because you may not know this when you watch TV news, but the people that you see in front of the camera, your anchors, or um, you're talking about something like the Weather Channel, the meteorologists that you see on camera, they have earpieces in their ear. And there are various people that could be talking in their ear, but the main voice that they would be hearing is a producer. So I was a producer and I would constantly get complaints from on air talent that they couldn't hear me. Keisha, speak louder. Keisha, enunciate. Keisha, say what it is that you want. And thinking about that, it took me quite a while to get in the habit of speaking up, of being clear, both in my career and also in my personal relationships as well. Because this is one of the biggest things that we struggle with as women, right? Is being in this position where we have been socially conditioned to shut our mouths, to be seen and not heard. We've been socially conditioned to people please and to not say things for the sake of keeping peace. And there's a time and place. There truly are situations where it is best to keep your mouth shut. There truly are situations where you may have a concern and it may be the time to put a pause on that discussion for now and to wait, bring it up later. But that is not what we're talking about today. Today, we're talking about how to actually communicate your desires so that you get what it is that you want and what you deserve in a relationship. Here's the thing, in my heart of hearts, I do not believe that God is a tease. I don't believe that God puts desires in our hearts for no reason whatsoever. If you have the desire for something, if you truly believe that this is something that's going to make your life better, then you deserve to have it. You should have it. And it is possible for you, point blank, period. So, one of the most heartbreaking things that I see is when a woman is telling me what she wants in a relationship. And then she's like, but I don't know if I can actually have that. I don't know if I truly deserve that, or I've never seen women in my family be treated that way. If you want it, you deserve to have it. However, if you want it, you also need to communicate it. So that's what we're talking about today. That is, how do you communicate your desires? So, of course, you guys know that I love nice odd numbers. We're going to talk about 5 ways that you communicate your desires. The first step that you need to make is to know what your desires are. One of the first things that I have women do when they work with me is create a list of what it is that they want in a relationship. What are you actually looking for in a man? And it is important that you get clear on those desires and that you also know that they are your desires. I get societal pressure. I get community pressure. I do. I just so happen to be a preacher's kid. So growing up in church, I was very familiar with what people wanted my path in life to be, what people wanted me to do, and what they thought, I should want and desire. So, I have friends who went to college to get their MRS, their misses. They went to college specifically for the purpose of meeting a man in college and getting married right after graduation, knocking out a bunch of babies right away. And, now those women and I were both in, we're all in our early to mid 30s, depending on, friends that were a few years above me or a few years after me. And, you know, I am married for 3 years. My husband and I plan on having children, but we haven't yet. And I have friends who, they have kids who are middle schoolers because, they got married at the age that they did. And there was always this pressure, like I could always feel it, of I was supposed to be following that same path. Um, I should be having little middle schoolers of my own running around right now. And it is okay to want to honor tradition. It is okay to see things happening in the lives of your friends, your family, um, even people like influencers, however you want to define influencer, someone on social media, actual celebrity, whatever. And to think that looks really good. I think I might want that too. But you have to be clear on what is actually a desire of yours and what are things that, because of the way that you grew up, people have placed in your head as they should be a desire for yours, for you. You need to get clear on what do you actually want in a relationship? What would suit your lifestyle? What would make you happy? What would have made a lot of people at my old church happy was for me to marry a preacher, someone exactly like my dad, and then to be a housewife. That was not going to work for me. It would have been, it would have made me miserable. And I would have made, if I had married a man and done that, I would have made his life hell because I wouldn't have been happy. So it's okay to know that people wish well for you, they want the best for you, and they have these ideas in their head of what's best for you. But you need to take some time to really separate, list out all your desires, what it is that you think you want in a relationship, what you think your future life should look like, and then to go through that list and to be able to discern, is this something that I really want, or is this something that someone told me that I should want? Number two, know the why behind your desires. So, as you're going through this desires list, be really clear on why is this so important to you? Because you'll find that some of these things are preferences, but they're not must-haves. I love it. I always laugh when I have a new client and she comes to me with that list of what she wants in a relationship. And that list includes something like must be 6 feet tall or taller. It's not a need. In general, it's just not a need. I will give more credit to, I have some clients who are taller women. I've had clients who are 5'10", 5'11", and I get that they want someone who is their height or taller. But I have clients who are 5'3", like I am. And being with someone who is 6 feet tall or taller is a vanity thing. They would be perfectly happy with, you know, evolutionary speaking, there's a whole thing behind women wanting men who are taller. There's a science behind it. It helps a woman feel more, it helps a woman feel safer. It helps a woman feel like he has a greater ability to provide and protect. But in reality, you know, my husband's 5'9", and I don't think there would be any major difference if a genie came and granted a wish and made him 6 feet tall. I don't think there would be a single difference in how we lived our lives now that he's 6 feet tall than compared to him being 5'9". He's still taller than me. I rarely wear heels, and when I do, they're an inch or two. So he's always taller than me. And honestly, there are other things that matter more, but I'm using this one because it's just such a common example. Understanding why something is a desire for you, it goes back to my first point. Some of the things that you say you want in a relationship, like a man who's taller, are just societal conditioning. And if you look at how it's going to affect your day to day life with this person, it won't. It absolutely won't. You are overlooking perfectly good men for no reason whatsoever, because you haven't stopped to think about the fact that this really has no impact on your everyday life. It's also important that when it is something that truly matters to you, when you have a relationship attribute that you're looking for in a husband that is really important, understanding your why behind it improves your conviction and it improves your discernment. It makes it so much less likely when you have a strong why behind this, you're not going to settle for someone who doesn't meet that requirement. Being able to remind yourself why this is important to you is so important. You know, going to a priority that was much more important to me, it was really important to me that my husband, when I was dating, it was really important to me to be with a man who had emotional intelligence because I had been in relationships before that were abusive. I had been in relationships before with men who were controlling. I'd also been in relationships with men before who were apathetic and just didn't care. They saw being married, being in a relationship as kind of a means to an end or something that should be on their, to-do list, something for them to check off. And they wanted a woman who met a certain number of requirements, but beyond that, they didn't really have to be in love with her. And I say all that because having been in those situations before, I knew what it was like to be with a man who could, say, financially provide for me, but who could not emotionally provide for me, who could not mentally provide and be there when I needed him around. I knew what it was like to be in a relationship with someone and not feel safe. I knew what it was like to be in a relationship with someone and still feel lonely all the time. So it was really important to me that I be in a relationship with a man who allowed me to feel seen, who allowed me to feel heard, who I could be vulnerable with, and who could be a safe place for me. And having had the bad experiences that I'd had in the past, when I went on my journey to find the right relationship for me, to find my cherished partner, I wasn't settling for someone who couldn't do those things for me because I had a really strong why. It wasn't just like, it would be nice if he were more emotionally intelligent and he allowed me to be vulnerable. I had a strong why for like, no, I can't do anything that doesn't look like that. So again, you want to know your desires. You want to know your why behind those desires. And you want to own your desires without oversharing them. So here's what I mean by that. It's very common when you first meet someone that he will ask you, "Oh, what is it that you're looking for?" This can be a perfectly innocent question. This could be a question that someone just asks you to make conversation. However, it happens too often that certain types of men use this question to manipulate you. What I mean by this is that in general, whenever you meet someone, they are on their best behavior. So the version that you get of them when you first meet them is typically the best that is going to get. And what happens too often in relationships, especially when we're not using our discernment as much as we should, is that you will tell a man you are looking for all these things, and he will become those things for a couple of months or a few weeks. And then once he thinks that he has you, he will start falling back. He will slowly stop doing the things that he was doing to get you. And because you were a victim of love bombing in the beginning and you fell head over heels for this person quickly, when that behavior starts to wane, you're still clinging on to what things were like in the beginning. Because you're still clinging to what things were like in the beginning, you will stay in a relationship that's not healthy. So it's important that you don't overshare because you want to give a man a chance to you want to find out who he truly is when you're not giving him a playbook for how he's supposed to behave around you. At the same time, you also want to own your desires and let it be known that you have boundaries and that you won't settle for less than those boundaries. If you are with a man who says that you wanting to get married, you wanting commitment is too much, you can tell him, hey, I respect your opinion. Um, it's cool with me that you don't want commitment, that you don't want marriage, but this is something that I want. So obviously, you and I aren't compatible. And then don't be afraid to walk. If a man is telling you that you're old fashioned because you expect chivalry, that's one that I used to get sometimes. You can say, hey, you know, I get that you're so modern, and I think it's cool that you are so modern and that you embrace that. But, I'm an old-fashioned girl from South Carolina. Yes, I expect chairs to be pulled out for me. Yes, I expect doors to be open for me. So I don't do less than that. And because this person won't adhere to your boundaries, to your rules, it doesn't make them a bad person, but it does mean that the two of you aren't compatible. And it's okay to wish them well, let them go with God, and for you to move on. So, number four is to be clear about your source. I've said this before about God not being a tease. And I always believe that whatever desires are placed in my heart, I am going to get them, and that I will probably get them through people, through other people, but that doesn't mean that those people are my source. So if I want more money, you know, I know that that money is likely coming through people. So more clients sign up to work with me, or someone offers me a sponsorship deal, or the places that I freelance for as a journalist still, that they offer me more hours to work for them. So, those things are coming through people, but I don't rely on my clients to make sure that there's a roof over my head. I don't rely on, sponsorship deal to make sure that there's a roof over my head, or for the places that I freelance to make sure that there's a roof over my head. All those things come through God. So, however they work out is how they work out. And it's not to dismiss anyone. I love every client I have, and I'm grateful for them. I am grateful for the companies that I have the opportunity to work for. I am grateful for every person who comes in and allows me to do things that earn money, but I'm not so dependent on them. I have my boundaries. I have what I'm willing to do and what I'm willing to not do. And I will walk if I find myself in a situation that disrespects me and my boundaries and my standards. This is the same with dating. You can appreciate a man who takes care of you. You can appreciate a man who provides. You can appreciate a man who looks out for you. And if you're in a healthy relationship, you can appreciate the fact that he is vulnerable. You can appreciate the fact that he is a safe place for you. At the same time, you should never make one person your end all be all. Even if you are married, there's a reason why other people are placed in our lives in general, why we have family members, why we have friends, why we have coworkers. You and your husband are not going to 100% agree on everything and 100% like the same things. So it's as simple as having other people in your life who like that TV show that you like, but that your husband thinks is stupid. You can have conversations with those people about that TV show. But you also know that you have these people to support you in ways that your husband can't, or in ways that he may not want to, or just in ways that, again, you're not compatible. So it's true when you're in a committed relationship, but it's also true when you're dating as well. Back to this idea of owning your desires and not oversharing them, being able to tell a potential partner that you're meeting, that you're dating, what it is that you want, and knowing that if he can't provide it, that's fine. He can still be a good guy. Um, he can still be a great husband to some other woman, but he's not meant to be your great husband. So being clear on that, knowing that you met this person, he came into your life for a reason. Um, he could have quite possibly taught you something. You had some great times together, but he's not your source. And you don't need to change him or stay with him for his potential, because you're afraid that there's not better out there. There most definitely is. If you haven't met the man who is aligned with you, if you haven't met your purpose partner, then that means he's still out there and you need to leave the person that you're talking to now so that you can go find him. And number 5 kind of brings us to this point is don't tolerate less. You're not going to get anywhere by staying in a situation that you're not aligned with, hoping that it's going to be better, hoping that this person is going to change, hoping that this person is going to love you so much they're going to completely flip their personality to be the type of man that you want them to be. First of all, it's not even fair to them. Like, would you want someone to do that to you? Would you want a man to date you and pray the entire time that he's dating you that you're going to all of a sudden wake up one day and not be you, that you'll be whatever it is that he wants you to be? But second, when you tolerate less, you are teaching people that you're willing to tolerate less. When you don't uphold your boundaries, you are teaching people that those boundaries aren't as important to you as you say they are. Whatever boundaries you set, they're yours. No judgment here. But I will wholeheartedly judge you for not upholding them, because that is betraying yourself, sis. It's not just a matter of, oh, it's okay. I love this person so much, and I know they love me even though they don't do the things to show it. When you betray your boundaries, you betray yourself. You act out of integrity with yourself. And you are, at worst, creating unhealthy relationships with people who don't treat you well. But even at best, you're creating relationships that are inauthentic because you're not being yourself. When you don't uphold boundaries, when you tolerate less than what it is that you want, people are building relationships with an inauthentic version of you. They don't have a relationship with the real you. So how do you even know if they actually love you or not? By making your standards known, by having natural consequences, that means walking away from relationship, or making it clear that you expect to have a conversation and that you want your boundaries respected. When you stand up for yourself, you allow yourself to have healthy, authentic, real relationships with people. And I assume if you're listening to me, that's the goal, right? The goal is to have someone love you for who you are. The last thing you want is someone who loves you for who you pretend to be. We're living longer than ever. There's no reason to believe that you're not going to live to be 100 years old. Do you want to spend 50, 60, 70, 80 years living a version of you that's not real so that someone can continue to love that version of you, not the real you? No, you never want that, right?